Tell me, how can I give you more when we're talking through the bedroom door? My patience is wearing thin. I'll meet you when your ship comes in, but I'm stuck in the doghouse again. Back in the doghouse again, yeah.
When you make your Plexi 18, what's the difference? What do you get more?
It's just attention to detail and really good quality components.
For the tuning and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you got to imagine what it was like back in the mid 60s, and manufacturers like Marshall would buy ex-army surplus components by the thousands.
Throw it together.
We're doing a deal on 1,010 puff capacitors instead of 1,000 puff. It'd be 1,010 because it was for some silly military specification. And so they'd buy them for next to nothing and put them in their amps. Of course, all these little differences all add up.
It's a bit hilarious then if people pay loads of money for a vintage amp that might have just been thrown together.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've worked with a guy, Gary Winterflood, who's been buying and selling old guitars and old amplifiers for many, many years. And we took about 10 because he was the only guy who would have availability to lots of old Plexi 50 watt heads. And looking inside, they're all just slightly different. So, someone gets a good one, someone gets a bad one.
And most of them can't tell the difference.
No, that's right. That's right.
How do you get around the, old Marshall amps? Some of them are really good, obviously, as we said, but they're really trebly, a lot of them. And the JMP1 is like, when you get a good one, it's just amazing. And it's usually to do with the treble response. How do you get around that when you build amps like that?
Well, our tone control system is different to the Marshall one. So the tone stack is different. So that's one of the things that isn't quite the same.
Hardly anything happens on some of the Marshalls.
That's right, if you want to simulate, the only way I can think of it is that if you were a car enthusiastic and you wanted to build an old Ford Popular, and you build it and it looks fantastic, it looks just like the original with leather seats or whatever, and you'll only do 80 miles an hour, but if you took it round the M25 and put your foot on the brake, you'll find that it takes like 6 miles to stop. Well, that's like old amplifiers. Today, in today's world, you can't have old brakes that don't stop. And it's the same with the circuit design. We've gone a long way. We've designers, Fender, Marshall, lots of clever people in the world have taken the audio amplifier a long way since back then. And all I've done is incorporated the best bits. So you've got your full Popular, but you've got your disc brakes.
So do you think that's the future of amplification then? Small boutique builders will build really, really good quality amps?
Well,
you think everyone will discover that in time? But still, it's like, I'm going to buy the old Vox, and it's like, there it is. You don't even try it. You just pay $2.5 grand for it.
That's true.
Carry it out, and it's a bit crap, possible.
Unfortunately, we've got, what's called anoraks.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of people like that.
They're everywhere.
Everywhere. And it's difficult for me because I try to give a reputation as being honest and like to give the correct information. And there's lots of silly old sort of information around that just isn't true. And things that examples I could give you. I mean, the presence control on the old Marshall, just as an example, has DC on the pop. It's the way it's designed. Originally, what it was is it comes from the feedback of the amplifier, and they adjust the feedback to give it more treble gain. And when someone originally discovered that, and it worked fine. But what they didn't realise was that they were putting DC onto the pop. So with just a small change of the circuit, you can prevent that happening. So it's the same circuit, but when you turn the present part, it doesn't go. It's got DC on it. So little of things like that.
There's going to be a million of those.
Evolved over the years.
Yeah. So how do you regularly speak to other amp manufacturers like the Mad Professor and who else? Comet, Trainwreck, all those guys. Is it kind of like a bit of a family, or do you not really?
No, I don't. I mean, I'd love to, but I don't really get a chance to. Some of it's in publication, but I get a lot of repairs in to do. If someone buys a boutique amp in this country from America and it goes wrong, what do they do?
Yeah.
Where do they go?
Yeah.
So I see a lot of old boutique amps because of that.
Yeah.
But I tend to find that the Americans are a little bit anal, going back to the anorak thing, and they tend to, do a Marshall copy, and they will copy it 100%.
Yeah.
So they've got one, and every single component is exactly the same, which is very good, and they do a really lovely job.
Yeah.
But getting back to the full car, we don't do that. We just take it that extra step further.
That's what's interesting as well.
Oh yeah.
It's like trying to play like Jimi Hendrix or coming up with something yourself.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
So where do you distribute in the UK then?
We've got about 10 or 15 shops that we deal with throughout the UK. But as I said, our main market is Japan.
Yeah, so do you sell a lot over the internet then as well? Or?
We do a little bit over the internet,
Cool. All right. Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
That was brilliant. Thank you.